Wow, that was yesterday. Yellowstone National Park, that's the Yellowstone River, reaching historic flood levels. Watching a building or a home crashing straight into this, being swept up by the river that obviously has eaten away at the bank there with the erosion. And there are other homes and buildings right along the edge there affected by this. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on which time zone you are in. I'm meteorologist Gerard Jebaily here for NewsNation, and we have a lot to talk about weather-wise. There has been all sorts of extreme things going on from in the west, as you just saw with Yellowstone, and with places across the East Coast. Here's some more video of this incredible flooding there from above. There's been a lot of tourists trying to get into Yellowstone, such a beloved park, and many of them have been unable to get in. They've either been trapped in there. The park is officially closed until they can go and assess everything. But this is pretty impressive stuff. We're going to talk more about it. But if you were one of the folks trying to get into Yellowstone, it's just not going to happen today. The rain that they've had over there is pretty impressive. I think that's the videos we have. Let's go to graphics and show you guys the kind of rain that they've really been having. So this is the last 3 days. And as you notice, they've had anywhere from 2 to 3 inches, but where it's been happening is on some of these higher peaks, and it just funnels straight down into the rivers, causing this sort of flash flooding. So we're going to continue to see the flooding remaining, because even after the rain stops, it takes time to go down the hills into the rivers, and that's the result. So once the flooding subsides below these historic levels, they'll start to be able to let folks back in. But flood watches and a few warnings have been put in place. There's still some just on the other side there, north of Idaho Falls. That's the aerial flood warning. It's in effect until 3 o'clock. That's Central Daylight Time, so you obviously have to adjust for the time zones. But there's still other places that are still getting enough rain to warrant flood watches. An example right there till 7 p.m. Just north into Montana. But remember, this right there, the corner, the far northwest corner, is where the Yellowstone National Park is located. All right, that's Yellowstone, but there's a whole lot more weather going on nationwide. Maybe you were one of the folks across much of the Plains states last night into yesterday that ran into some of these. We've seen thunderstorms like this before, but this was pretty incredible. This was a 700-mile long swath of damaging winds and large hail. Interestingly enough, there was only one tornado, and it did not occur in these thunderstorms, despite all the watches and tornado warnings. The one tornado that occurred was way over there on the far edge of your screen, the coast of North Carolina. But what an amazing several complexes of storms we saw. This is what it looked like when they rolled through Chicago. Tornado sirens going off. I think we can even hear those. That's pretty eerie. You can see the dark thunderstorm clouds looming in the background, that band of clouds sort of feeding into this storm as it came almost straight across downtown. But it caused a lot of damaging wind, hail. The lightning was incredible. I was actually out storm chasing this thing, or attempting to. Not easy to do that through Chicago traffic during this kind of weather. I've been doing this for about over 20 years now, and this was still one of the bigger storms to come through the Chicago area since I've been here. Did not produce a tornado, thankfully, but you can see the swath of damage that it produced. Now, here's the issue with the severe weather. While we could see a little bit more as we move into the next few days, there is going to be some with that same complex. You see it way over there along the East Coast. That is where we'll likely see what's left of it, but more is expected between Nebraska, Iowa, and possibly in the Dakotas. So this is today, this afternoon, more of those thunderstorms could erupt, firing up more potential for damaging winds, large hail. And then, as you see, this is a level 3 threat from the Storm Prediction Center for Wednesday, and it is going to continue to produce more thunderstorms up there. That is actually the least of our worries. Folks, if you are one of the unlucky ones, the problem that we had is we had a lot of people lose power. In fact, I'm going to go straight into that. This is something that definitely needs to be seen. The number of people that lost power, it was at one point this morning, was up to 500,000. I would have to do some quick calculations here to estimate this, but that's, we're still approaching 400,000 people from Wisconsin through West Virginia right now. And many of them have been without power since last night, but individual counties are still mostly without power. The big issue here is the fact that the number one most dangerous weather phenomena that we have that kills more people is heat. Right now, most of the eastern half of the country is feeling it. I mean, it's 90 degrees right now in Chicago. With the humidity, it already feels like it's 100. Same for St. Louis. So many places. This is real summertime like heat, but we're not in summer yet. We still have to get to beyond June 20th into June 21st. This heat that is happening right now is nothing unheard of, but this is certainly a little bit early. So we're going to see more records being broken. This is what I like to call the high pressure heat machine. And these ridges of high pressure move over the United States. And just like a pressure cooker, when it compresses, when it heats up, the pressure actually helps increase the temperature. Water boils at 212 degrees, but you know what? You increase the pressure, it can boil at a higher, hotter temperature. So the high pressure heat machine continues. We'll see one ridge continuing through Thursday, another one building back a little further west, right there towards the heartland in the Plain States, and that will continue into next week. So if you haven't had enough of the heat, plenty more where that came from. It's good pool weather, but this is dangerously hot for so many places that saw the severe weather. There is no power there. They do not have air conditioning. Excessive heat warnings are in effect from Columbus to Indianapolis, St. Louis, Chicago, Detroit may see that also expand. And you notice all those heat advisories surrounding that, where we could see temperatures exceeding 90, 95 degrees, the heat indices, the heat index, where it feels like when you factor in the humidity over 100 degrees. Okay. This is something that can really be dangerous, especially if you don't have a way to cool down. And a lot of the folks that do not have ways to cool down are going to be seeing the hottest temperatures they've seen in over 120 years, records that have stood that long. While you see mid to upper 90s down south, gotta say, as a southerner, they may be a little more used to seeing some really high humidity and high heat, even at this time of year, which is why they're not breaking records. But look at these places, everywhere from Minneapolis to Columbus, Chicago, Lexington, St. Louis could hit 101 degrees today. And these are just temperatures, these are not the heat indices. Factor in the humidity, it's worse. We'll show you that. But those numbers could reach records all the way to Columbia, South Carolina. 103 is the forecast today, which would break the old record of 102. And that is just today. Tomorrow, more of this happening, more record heat across much of the same areas. Dangerously hot. Remember, it is one of the things that can kill more people per year than any other type of weather phenomenon that we have. So everyone should take this seriously. All right, now let's talk about the heat index. This is the ugly side of things. This is what it's going to feel like today. 107 in St. Louis, 106 is what it's going to feel like in Chicago. It could feel like 107 in Detroit, Cleveland, Nashville, 105. Atlanta 106, Charlotte could feel like 110 degrees. Dangerously hot. So the most important thing is everyone needs to do the things that they should do to stay cool. Please don't do any unnecessary outdoor activity. You don't need to go and do that 3-mile run in this today. Okay. If you have a gym, go inside. Much better. Finding ways to cool down, smart ways to cool down. A wet towel around the neck goes a long way. If it's chilled water, even better. And you also need to know the signs of heat illness. If you're feeling sick, feeling dizzy, you need to get out of the heat immediately and start cooling yourself down. Hydration is important, but it's not enough completely to cool yourself down. So you want to continue to do that. All right, moving forward, one last thing to talk about. I'm getting a phone call here that I'll have to ignore for now, but we'll get back to it later. We have a lovely amount of rain that's been happening across some areas. We're talking about the Midwest, of course. That would be wonderful to cool things down. We may finally get a little bit of relief from that. Right now, it's actually hitting parts of Western Virginia into West Virginia. That would be nice if we could have that everywhere. We're just not going to get that. So the rainfall would be a wonderful thing to help cool things down. We're only going to see that across parts of the east. All right, last thing to talk about, the fires. There's actually been quite a bit going on through parts of New Mexico, Arizona. That smoke may be sort of polluting the air, especially in the upper levels across parts of the northern plains. Hey, it makes for great sunsets, but can still be harmful to those with breathing issues. By far today, the heat is still a big issue, and we want everyone to take that seriously. And I actually have a bit of a fear for the folks that are in these areas, especially over here, like I was talking about, Indianapolis, Columbus, the areas that got hit hardest without power. if you live in these areas or know someone does, it's good to check in on them, okay? Especially the elderly. They're incredibly susceptible to these sorts of things, and fatalities can easily happen in things like this. So we just want everyone to be very well aware of what's going on. Again, the heat is the big deal today, but there's been a lot of weather going on. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll be, of course, monitoring everything going on in NewsNation. We'll be on live tonight, starting with rush hour at 4 p.m. Central Time. So feel free to join us for the latest all news and weather updates. Have a great afternoon.